Okay, welcome to the last lesson of the week. This is lesson 24, and we are going to finish off the long blade on the end of the armored arm weapon. So, I've put something in place which I really did not like. So what I'm going to do is select the line project and cut that off in sculpt mode. However, it's created this horrible mesh looking thing. Not to worry, we're going to go into object mode, going to edit mode, select everything, and select the bisect tool, which is over on the left hand side. If you click and hold where the knife is, you can then select the bisect tool. I can't think of any other quicker way to do this. So when you select all your mesh, so you're telling Blender on what you want to cut. If you just want to select A to select all in edit mode, and then click and drag the bisect, it creates an edge, and then we want to make sure we right click to mark a seam, and then we'll select L on the bottom part and then delete the mesh. So now we're just going to join the vertices up around this seam. So I'm going to select and press F to fill in the faces, and then we're going to select the mesh and then go back into sculpt mode and then press Control R just to remesh the model. This will then put it back and all nice into the topology, instead of squishing everything up. And now we can just use the grab tool in orthographic mode and just stretch stretch the blade out. I'm just doing this to get a rough proportion size of how long I want the blade. I might put it a bit shorter than this, might put it a bit longer. It's unsure at the moment to see exactly how long I want it. But let's make the blade and put it over the top. So I'm going to press Shift A and bring in a plane, press S to scale it down, and then I'm going to move this using the gizmo transform tool, rotate it roughly and just place it over the top. I was thinking about putting it under the bottom, but I'm going to put it over the top, and then we're going to go into edit mode. Make sure you're selecting the edge select mode, because and select the select box because it was on the bisect tool. Sometimes I forget to click on the appropriate tool. It happens all the time. But yes, when you select the edge and then hold Control and right click, I keep on pressing the wrong buttons because this is fairly new to me, the Control right click. I didn't realize you can actually extrude depending on where your mouse cursor is. This is actually a fantastic technique I just found out recently. However, so when you put your cursor in the far distance and then press Control right click, it then extends that edge and the face all the way to where you've clicked. And then we're going to remove that edge that we've just extended it to from clicking and selecting it and pressing Control X, and then we are going to reselect the mesh, go into edit mode. But before we do that, we're going to reset the transforms. Control A to reset transforms, and then right click and then set origin to geometry. This is also going to be helpful later on for when we are mirroring it across on the x-axis. So when we go into edit mode, I'm just going to actually line this up and make it slightly longer. So I'm just going to grab the edge and just grab it out a little bit more. And then we are going to go into edit mode and add some edge loops around. So we add about 20 edge loops. It's they're all roughly all squares, no problem. And I'm just going to speed it up because now I am adding the blade, transforming the blade at the bottom bit. But before that, I'm going to select solidify, and we're just going to give it some thickness, and then select the bevel. I'm going to put 0.01 for the bevel, and then for the subdivision surface modifier. And then what we're going to do is I'm just moving the vertices into place to create the blade. I spent a little bit of time doing this, trying to get the angle I wanted it at. As you can see, you may notice when you have these modifiers turned on, like so, like the bevel and the subdivision, you notice you can see the curves when you're moving the vertices. Now, sometimes you see a spiky, jagged corner when you're moving the vertex. That's good, because then you know you want to make it nice and smooth and round, so therefore all you have to do is reselect the vertex and just move it into the right position you wish to place it. So after just selecting every vert that I've done that and extending the blade a little bit, rotated it a little bit, and just trying to get that to sit nicely. I wanted to bring it up a little bit on the end. Still not too happy with that. I may have to go over it in a bit later. So I did apply the modifiers here. It's not necessary. I just wanted to add an edge loop around the center, just so I can then grab that edge loop and then pull that all the way down. So I was just experimenting at the moment by pressing Alt E. However, you can't Alt E to grab this, because that just means you're extruding the edges. So I'm just going to press G and Z, which will just pull it down, straight down. And then on the tip of the blade, as you see, it's kind of taking the form and it's not exactly sitting the way I want it to sit. So what I'm going to do is just going to add in a couple of subdivided vertices on the edge, and then just connect them up by using J. What I'm going to do here is select the other edges and remove the ones I need to remove, and move the vertices that I believe would be beneficial for a pointy blade. I was just experimenting and trying some new stuff out. I think the best way I have come to line the verts up is when you're selecting one vert, you're selecting the other vert, make sure it's just two selected. You can press Shift S and then select cursor, 3D cursor to origin to the center. So then you can then click the center vertex, press M to merge, and you can then merge it to your 3D cursor. It's very handy in some situations. Okay, so we're going to use the bisect tool again. We're going to select this, put a ring around, and then just right click and mark a seam. If you get different options, that means make sure you have selected your edge select. We'll then press L to select everything, and then press X to delete. And then the same as earlier, we are just going to control and click all the way around the edge loop, and then press F again to fill, like so. And then as we've now done that, all we're going to do is go back to sculpt mode and then just remesh it so it's got some geometry on that face that we have just created. And then we will smooth it over and pull it up the blade, because we will merge the blade into the armor piece in just a bit in the future lesson, so we can easily see if there's any changes we might have to do, or anything extra we may have to fix, or anything like that. Apologies if you hear wind blowing in the background. It's a very hot day in the UK, which is unheard of normally. Yes, it's hot in the UK. It always rains, always cloudy, always cold. But no, it's been very hot. So, yes, I've had to have my fan on so I don't overheat. So, that is everything for today's lesson. We have now merged the blade with the handle, and then used the scrape tool just to scrape it down. I've reselected the blade, and I'm just going to re-add the bevel and the subdivision surface to the blade again before attaching it to the arm piece. and obviously we're going to mirror it across. So, hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I'll see you in the next one.